Hi friends, my name is JP Rainsford with Rainsford Photography. I am so glad you found our YouTube channel. On our channel, we are all about instilling confidence in you, the wedding photographer. Please make sure you subscribe so you can be the first to know about all of our new videos. Today, I am talking with my good friend Lauren Carnes all about finding your ideal client. Why is it important that you know who your ideal client is? What is an ideal client? And how do you book and photograph weddings you love? Lauren Carnes is a brilliant marketing and branding strategist, and we actually owe a lot of our early success and then the pivot of our company towards her and all of her coaching. We actually met with her many years ago when we first started our wedding photography business and asked her to coach us through how we find our ideal client. So once she sat down with us, coached us through, that actually set the trajectory that we are on now as wedding photographers. I'm so glad you get to learn from Lauren Carnes today. If you have any questions about how to identify your ideal client, maybe things that worked for you as you started your wedding photography business, as you learned about your ideal client, please drop those comments below. I'd love to learn from you and I'd love to help you grow. Please subscribe to our channel. It's free for you and helps us a ton. Thanks, friends. Hi friends, we are so glad you're back for another YouTube episode, and today I have Lauren Carnes with me, and Lauren is a dear friend, and I'm so excited to introduce you to her and to her business and all the ways that she can help you identify your ideal client. But before we get into that, Lauren, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do day to day, and then we'll delve into ideal client.
That sounds great. Yes. Hi. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's so fun. It feels like we're getting to hang out.
I know, even during quarantine.
Yes, it's fun. It's a fun treat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am Lauren Carnes. I am a photographer and a communications strategist based in Athens, Georgia. So not too far from you guys, which is always fun. One day we will get to hang out in person now that I live closer.
Yes.
And I have a sweet little baby boy. He is the coolest and so much fun. Oliver, and my husband and I live here. It's our college town, so we came back to Athens just about 6 months ago when my husband was starting his career here in medicine. And prior to that, we lived in Augusta, Georgia for 5 years. So that was when I started my business, was when we moved to Augusta while my husband was in residency. So it is nice to be back after all of our time in Athens, and after a little bit away, it's nice to be back here.
Yeah.
And I just love being able to, it's kind of nice during quarantine, great example. I love being able to serve other people and other creative small business owners by helping them learn more about how to market and communicate for their own businesses. And so that's a little bit how you and I met, of course. And so that's what I do in the communications side of thing. And obviously for photography, I primarily shoot everything from food and editorial photography to newborn and family. I actually used to be a full-time wedding photographer, and as of this year, and kind of hanging that hat on the wall for now, forever, question mark, not exactly sure what that looks like. But just in this season of life and business and with little ones running around, we are just shifting a little bit of life. But with that being said, I have a lot of different types of clients that I serve and just a lot of different types of work that I do. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to be here chatting about ideal client today, just because I think it's so relevant for our businesses and something that has absolutely played a huge role in the fact that I serve just such a wide variety of clients. And ultimately that I have, shifted and pivoted in business many times while also moving lots of things. So I'm excited to chat.
This conversation of ideal client, even for you, you've had to go back to the drawing board as your business has grown and as you have shifted and said, who is my ideal client now as I'm growing, as my business is growing and we're shifting?
Absolutely. I feel like it's a forever conversation. It's always something that I'm, readdressing and looking back on. So it feels
and I
fitting.
think that's a great caveat at the beginning before we actually delve into ideal client, that once you establish your ideal client could change.
Absolutely.
As you change. And Ryland and I, as we have pivoted our business over the last few years, yes, we're still wedding photographers, but our ideal client for our wedding photography may change over the years. And so it's interesting to hear you say that even as you've shifted in your businesses, what you've photographed or hung your hat up and saying, like, I'm not going to do wedding photography anymore, but this is what I'm going to be focusing on, the ideal client still has to be addressed no matter where you're at in your business.
No matter. So, yep, it's always a conversation that I have with myself and my husband and sometimes my child, you know.
And maybe a good friend over a cup of coffee. Like,
yep, and other biz friends always getting to chat. So this feels like that. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, I'm excited too. So let's go ahead and dive in. We hear the word, it's kind of a buzzword, ideal client. So could you kind of define that or flesh that out? What is ideal client?
Absolutely. I think like you said, it's a buzzword. Ideal client. Everybody talks about this thing of like, do you know your ideal client? Who's your ideal client? And I feel like, especially in the beginning stages of business, when all of a sudden you've kind of named your business, you potentially have gotten yourself set up with an LLC, you have all these things. It's like, okay, if you build it, they will come, right? It's like the business exists. Now there are going to be people knocking at my proverbial door, or my digital door, if you will.
Here we go.
Right? But the thing is it doesn't necessarily always work like that. And a lot of times when people start knocking, it's maybe not exactly people that you wish would be coming to that proverbial door. Sometimes there are people who are maybe like a friend of a friend who's just like, oh, my friend said that we'll go with photography since that's a shared something for you guys.
Yeah.
Since, someone comes to the door and says, oh, my friend said that you're a photographer and I know that you want to do weddings, but like we need our extended family photos done. So we're going to have 75 people coming together for this family reunion. Can you take our photo of 75 people for this family reunion? And that's right. I'm like, no, I can't. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. But ironically, that is something that we do on a wedding day, right? Like we have these large family formals, but the interesting thing about that is that's not necessarily what we like signed up for, right? These people coming to our door looking for something that isn't really what we offer is a great example of not necessarily being your ideal client.
Right.
And so the idea of an ideal client is someone who you feel like your mission and values and also the vision for your business and the work that you create aligns with their mission and values and vision for whatever type of photography or whatever type of service you offer. So it would be that those two things have a lot of synergy, that you feel like those people are really just fitting right in like a little puzzle piece into the work that you have created and into the business that you hope to build. And so that ideal client is incredibly valuable because it means that not only do you not necessarily have the people coming and knocking on your door saying, hey, can you shoot my 75-person, family reunion event? And instead, they're coming and saying, hey, I saw this on your website, and I particularly love the way you describe XYZ. It really resonated with me. And for that reason, I want to have you come and do exactly what you were hoping to serve your clients in every single day. So that's a little bit about ideal client. It's kind of this idea of target audience or, the avatar or the muse, the person that you create for so that you can create for long term, right? You build something so that you can also build it for them.
And I think you said this quite a few times, but the word that stood out to me that you kept saying over and over, you might not even notice that you said it, was align. So like everything, the puzzle pieces all come together. And I think about when our son tries to build a train track and the pieces do not go together because like an end is hitting an end.
Right.
And
the plus sign and the plus sign, like on a battery.
So those pieces need to align to form the track so that the train can smoothly come down. And a lot of times when we start our business, we envision this really smooth train track, but we don't know quite how to get people on the train track and to have it be a smooth ride for everyone. It may be that someone comes to you and says, I've noticed you're a photographer. Can you take this picture? Actually, like you said, I can't, because that's not in line with my vision. That's not in line with my business. So how do we take our brains and then communicate our alignment to other people? Is that weird ideal client conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great point. And going along with the train track idea, you know, there are some of those pieces that have the split on it, right?
Yeah, great.
Where, you know your ideal client, and they come and they say, here's what I'm looking for. Yeah. But it's not exactly what you are like creating, what you've offered. This is really what I want. Is that something that you can do? And it may lead down a different path. That is okay. There are still opportunities for growth and pivoting and change within the ideal client. You still can meet them where they're at if you want to, but it does allow you to say, hey, actually, no, I'm going to send you down this path to someone else who's going to be a better fit for you. And so it allows you to say, like, I'm staying on the straight and narrow right this way, but I'd love to send you off on this direction. So then you can also serve other fellow vendors and other fellow people who are in your industry by providing them with references and referrals for their ideal clients. So I love that visual too of the train track. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah. I was building one with Car this morning, and it was incredibly, like, as I was thinking about this conversation, I was like, this is a line, like, this is how smooth, like, processes and thinking and just businesses begin, is when you put those pieces together and they align, and then your train comes together and those are your clients.
Yep.
I was thinking about that this morning.
I love that.
Well, great. Okay. Ideal client. It's kind of this weird avatar, like you said, that you're building. Let's dive into, why is it important for us to know our ideal client for our businesses? So we'll go through, why is it important for us to know for our business? And then why should we know it for our clients' sake? So we'll start for our business first, if that's okay.
I love that. Yeah. So for our business, you know, it really is easy to just kind of feel like you always are, that the train is coming before the track is placed, right? And so for our business sake, it allows us to feel as though we're one step ahead, that we are thinking ahead of the game, and that we're building a business and creating content and photographing things that speak to that ideal client. So we actually are molding the business for ourselves instead of letting the landscape or the people who are coming to us dictate what it is that we create. So if you are not sure what you want to be creating, and the person comes to you and says, can you do a photo session for our 75-person family reunion? If that's not really what you were originally envisioning, but you think, well, gosh, you know, like, I need the money and here it is, so let me do this work. You end up kind of getting down that path, right? You're kind of constantly chasing what is already, you know, the trajectory that your business is going in. As opposed to, if you know your ideal client up front, you are able to say, okay, when I get these inquiries for any given particular photo session, when I get these inquiries, I can filter them through the lens of, does it feel like the mission, vision, and values aligns for the two of us? And it might be that you say, okay, well, I need the money, and I have this inquiry in my inbox. Is it worth it for me to do? And that's when I think it's a great opportunity for you to think of, okay, is a 75-person family reunion your ideal client? Maybe not necessarily from like the grand perspective. That might not be what you want to be photographing forever.
Right.
But from a business standpoint, if you can say, well, I recognize that one of my goals this year is to be able to shoot weddings that the couple prioritizes their family and really wants them to be a big part of their wedding day. And so I want to create family photos and family candids that really speak to the type of ideal client that is going to say, oh my gosh, that picture of the grandmother and the grandson really, really spoke to me. And they may not know that it was from a family reunion, and instead it still connects with the ideal client, right? So you're able to see it through the lens of, if this isn't a wedding, it's not exactly what I want to be doing, but I can still accomplish my goals and still connect with my ideal client through photographing this particular event, then that's a great opportunity for you as a business owner to kind of flex some skills, get some experience, and create content that's going to connect with them. Ultimately knowing what your goal is moving toward those weddings where your ideal client prioritizes family. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think along with that, just keeping in mind that business is business. And as business owners, we have the privilege of saying yes and no to clients. But that doesn't mean that we have to say, if we're a wedding photographer, that we're going to cut out all families that ask us to photograph them. Absolutely. Because we can sharpen those skills that will benefit us on the wedding day. And like you said, and this kind of goes into like social media strategy marketing. People don't actually have to know that that was from a family session if you market it as something that could be geared towards your ideal client. If it's a wedding photography, you can still talk about it in the wedding photography sense.
Right.
So that's kind of a conversation for another day with marketing, social media, all of that, branding, messaging. But I do think you're right in the sense that like a lot of things do overlap. And so keeping in mind, is this my ideal client? Maybe not necessarily, but can it benefit me in reaching my ideal client?
Absolutely.
Those are kind of the questions we need to be asking ourselves, especially at the beginning of our business when it's not quite as defined.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think also in the beginning of the business, you may think this is the only thing that I want to do. For me, for example, I thought I was only going to be a wedding photographer forever and amen.
Right.
And, by a funny turn of events, here I am 6 years later. Oh, wow. 6 years. I think I just passed my 6-year anniversary now that I think about it. 6 years later, with no weddings on the books this year, intentionally, by choice. Yeah. And shooting so many other things. And I never would have known that they were even something that I wanted to be on my radar had I not explored those other opportunities with the lens of my ideal client in mind. Yeah. And so I think that it's just really valuable for our businesses to be able to know the ideal client. So you know the goal you're working toward, you know the things that you're trying to do, and you know what you're trying to accomplish with any work that you create or say yes to or say no to. And it's okay to say no to things if you're like, this just does not feel like it's a good fit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Say no. I feel like all business owners somewhere in their office need to say, it's okay to say no. Uh-huh. Somewhere you will have to say no. You might as well start practicing now.
Right.
If you don't, it will be an unhealthy relationship with your business one day, and you'll start doing things that are not for your ideal client. I think that's the bottom line, is that you will really get off the train track of connecting the alignable tracks of where are we going, and you will get distracted and it just will go awry. So that's for our business. It's important for us to know our ideal client for our business so that we can communicate to our clients. But why is it important for our clients that we know our ideal client? Why does it matter to them?
Absolutely. So especially for if you are in an industry where, especially something like a wedding photographer, mm-hmm. It's a big day. These are big milestones, even if it's something, whatever you're photographing. A lot of times we are photographing milestones. We're photographing life events, things that they want captured in a way that they not only have beautiful photos of, but also that they just have a really, really strong positive association and positive memory with. Mm-hmm. And that's the full experience, right? That provides just a really full overarching experience. And as a result, it's important that we know our ideal client for our ideal client's sake, because they are able to connect quickly and recognize if they are the person who would be a great fit to connect with you on a personal level and to actually build a relationship with you, instead of it just being something where they're just signing on the dotted line and moving on.
Right.
And so it makes the full experience more positive for them. It also allows them to know, just like it's okay for us to say yes and no, it
Right.
also allows them to know what is a good fit and what is not. So what they should be saying yes to and what they should be saying no to, meaning that it's going to provide the better experience.
Right.
So for our ideal clients, it's just quicker and easier for them to find who they're looking for and to be able to go ahead and, move forward with their process. Once again, making it a smoother and easier. Everything is aligned. Everything is simple. It just makes it like a really, really positive experience for everyone involved.
Right.
That's totally for me. I always think of, if our goal is to serve well by sharing content that would resonate with our ideal client, we are serving them the best that we can. And it will mean that we are able to connect with them quicker. And
Right.
that just makes the process smooth and simple.
Exactly. So as you were talking, I was trying to think of like an example for that, like we would all be familiar with. So for example, if like I was craving a milkshake, I'm trying to think of somewhere that wouldn't like serve a milkshake. People like a restaurant that would be my ideal client, or like I would be their ideal client, obviously would be serving milkshakes.
Right, because
a restaurant that doesn't serve milkshakes, I'm trying to think.
Even like a high-end restaurant, we'll use that as the example. Just a white tablecloth kind of style restaurant.
Right. And so if they didn't have a milkshake, I'm obviously not their ideal client. And by them communicating to me like, we only have tiramisu, I'm so sorry, we don't have milkshakes tonight. They're serving me the best that they can because I didn't go into their restaurant. I didn't sit down and say, can I have your flavor milkshake? They obviously know their ideal client is not going to be the walk off the street, I'm just craving a milkshake. They are ready for someone to come in and do a white tablecloth dining, maybe order some wine, a nice appetizer, and they're ready to finish with a tiramisu, not a milkshake. Right. And so those kinds of messaging, like you said, serving the best way that we can possible. We know our strengths, we know what we can do. And if we can't do that, then we need to be sending a clear message that this is not ideal for me. It's not ideal for you. And so therefore we are not in alignment.
We have to manage those expectations up front, and it allows for there just to be, people know what they're going to get, and also they know what they're looking for, right? And so if you go in and you expect this high-end restaurant to be serving milkshakes, and you say, well, I want a milkshake, and they're like, I'm sorry, we don't carry ice cream in store, or in the restaurant, so we actually can't even make you a milkshake. Right. And even if we did, it would be totally out of our wheelhouse. So you're not going to get the best milkshake, but we have the best tiramisu in town. And so positioning that up front allows you to know, okay, instead of walking into this high-end restaurant, I'm going to actually walk a few blocks down the street and pop into the quick service spot that specializes in 50 different milkshake flavors. You know that is what they offer, and that they're going to do it top of the line. It's going to be the best milkshake you've ever had. And so I totally
now. I think
I know. I'm thinking, I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to go and get a cookout milkshake right now after this.
Oh, that's too great. Yeah. So and it benefits not only us, but our clients. And then it sends the clear messaging of this is where our business is going. Yep. So therefore, even if we haven't booked anyone yet, if we haven't made any money, it's already profiting our business.
Right. Because you're not having to run to the store to buy ice cream so that you can scrounge up the milkshake and offer that over and being like, I don't even know if this is good. Good luck.
Is this what you wanted? I'm not sure.
What's a milkshake? I don't know.
That's right. That's perfect. And I think the ultimate thing that you hit on, which I want to kind of back up and talk about just for a second, is loving our clients well. And if it's not in our wheelhouse, we cannot love them well. Mm-hmm. So it would be going back and almost like you said, running out, trying to make this milkshake. I don't know if you even like it. And then we've expended a ton of energy. We've lost a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It's not what our clients ultimately are looking for. And so everyone just, at the end, they just lose.
No one's benefiting.
Everyone loses.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, being confident in your strengths and in your skills, knowing that like that is how we do a good job for our clients. That is how we serve them well.
Right.
Is through the strengths and skills that we have spent a lot of time building up.
Right.
And by getting, sidetracked by the milkshake syndrome, you are getting away from dedicating time to building up your strengths and building up what you're really talented in so that you can serve that ideal client in the best way possible.
Yes.
And so I think that is really valuable. It also makes me really want tiramisu now as well. I'm just thinking of all the desserts. I'm like, what do we have here?
Just as a side note, tiramisu is Ryland's favorite dessert.
Oh, is it? I love that. Tiramisu.
He has ladyfingers in our pantry right now. And he's like, when can I make this tiramisu? I'm so ready for this tiramisu.
I think you totally should. That sounds delicious.
I
At a family-style Italian restaurant, and it was like, it's a chain, but it had delicious tiramisu, and I still, to this day, think about it. I'm like, I need to go back to that place and get tiramisu.
Yes. We're all craving it now. Well, let's kind of come down, and for our people that are listening or maybe watching, what is one or two, I would love to hear from you, like how can they start taking the steps today to identify their ideal client? Maybe with a friend or on their own. Maybe, I don't know how you want to answer that, if they have a business or if they don't have a business, just kind of how would you direct someone to do this?
Totally. That's a great question. So I think the thing is, it's easy for you to see people saying like, okay, where does your ideal client, like what's their favorite coffee drink and what's their favorite milkshake flavor and do they like tiramisu or not? Like it's easy for kind of those superficial, just like generic check the boxes of here are the things that my ideal client loves. Like I know that my ideal client loves an Oreo milkshake, so I'm going to talk about Oreo milkshakes. Like you can do that. Yes. Yeah. But I like to encourage people with the concept of an ideal client to take it one step deeper. So if you are watching this and you're trying to figure out who is my ideal client, and like I'm building a business or I already have an established business and I don't really feel like I'm getting the inquiries that I want, I'm getting the 75-person, family photo sessions, and really I want the intimate weddings. Yeah. If you are feeling that, what I would recommend you doing is starting by making a list of your 3 favorite clients you've ever worked with. So the 3 people that you would say most align, there's that word again, most align with who you think your ideal client would be. And if you don't know, this can just be, who did you have a great experience with? Who do you feel like the product that you produced was really on par with what you want to be creating and also was on par with what their expectations were? What it was that they were really, really excited about. So make a list of those 3 people or 3 couples or 3 families, whatever type of photography you're doing. And I want you to just bullet point out some of the most positive things about the experience working with them and about them as people.
Right.
The reason being is our goal is to be less about the favorite milkshake flavor and more about the values and the reason that they love milkshakes, right? Right. They love milkshakes because they love the celebratory experience and being able to share something. When I think of a milkshake, I think of like 2 people, same straw. They love the celebratory experience and they like a more low-key opportunity to be with their friends and family. Is that why they love the milkshake? Yeah. Or is it that they particularly love tiramisu because they value some of the finer things in life? Mm-hmm.
And they meal, being served.
Someone coming to them and offering a limited menu of here are the things that we make and we do it really well. Maybe they're a little bit more willing to invest in something that is, top of the line, higher quality. Because they recognize that, there's value in being able to say this one time, this is special, we're going to get the tiramisu. And so writing down what the what the favorite things about working with those people and why it was so special, and getting to the values behind, so kind of the why behind the what is what we're looking for. Yeah. In order to find similarities between those 3 people. And in doing so, you will start to be able to recognize where the 3 people that you most loved working with,
Yes.
where they have those connection points, and you are going to be able to write to and speak to and create for the person that encompasses all of those things, right? The person that has those core values that align with yours.
Yes.
And the great thing about this is you can do this even if you don't have 3 people that you've loved working with yet. You can think of, right? Because there's a time in my business when I was like, who do I write down? I don't know. I'm not sure. Fortunately, I very quickly was able to identify who my ideal client was. So by the time that I launched a business, I been dabbling in photography prior to that, but by the time I had launched a business, I already knew who that ideal client was. Yeah. But by thinking of perhaps 3 friends that if they were, so let's say wedding, if you're a wedding photographer, if you had 3 friends who were getting married in the next 6 months, yeah, would love to shoot their weddings for XYZ reason. Maybe it's a wedding, maybe you attended their wedding and you saw certain elements of it that you're like, gosh, this would be my dream wedding. Mm-hmm. Or you just know the type of big party and celebration they would throw, writing down those same things. So why it would be really, really wonderful to work with them as a person, as a friend, as a client. Right. And what are your favorite elements of that, hypothetical wedding day? Finding where all of those have connection points will really help you be able to start honing in and speaking to that person that kind of encompasses. And I recommend you can even name your ideal client. Like mine has a name. Yeah. She's actually a real person. And you can name her or him, so that when you are creating content, going back to that, this directly lends into marketing. When you're creating content, you go with that rule of 1. It's this idea that you have one person and only one person that you create for, mm-hmm, and that you speak to in all things. Mm-hmm. And that you kind of, have this person that's like, when you are writing an Instagram caption or when you're writing a blog post, you write with that one person in mind. Mm-hmm. And so that is one way that I think that anyone who has a business or is starting a business could go ahead and start doing this with themselves. Or you can sit down with a fellow business friend or, a fellow friend in the industry and do these same sort of things to kind of talk through what the differentiating factor is between your business and your ideal client and your friend's business and their ideal client. Because you can be same person or same industry and have very different visions for your ideal client, which ultimately helps us remember that there's room for all of us and there is an ideal client for everyone and there are clients to come for everyone. So I think that's really valuable.
I think that's awesome. So as you're talking, I just want to tell our viewers, listeners, whoever you are, that when Round and I add any new spoke to our business, so now we are wedding photographers and we're hoping to reach people who are starting businesses, entrepreneurs. We're calling it the creative entrepreneur. And when we sat down to think about a creative entrepreneur, we literally named our creative entrepreneur.
I love that.
These steps. And then we said our creative entrepreneur would feel this. Our creative entrepreneur would want this. Our creative entrepreneur is wanting to learn this. And so we painted this person, and every time we write, we think about this person. So I guess what I really want people to know is this works. Mm-hmm. And it works a lot faster than you think it would. Because, and as you said too, when you started your business, yes, you had been dabbling in photography, but because you knew exactly who you were speaking to, you had answered these questions about, what did you say earlier? The why, but behind the what?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I got it right.
Yeah. They want a milkshake, but like, why do they want it?
Exactly. So why do creative entrepreneurs need to learn? Why do they crave to learn? What is their, goals, and why do they set goals? Why do they need to set goals? All of these different things. It's been amazing to see how people have just come out of the woodwork that are our ideal client. And it's a little creepy. It's a little scary.
But it's also awesome because they come and say, they're like, I feel like you're in my brain. Like, I feel like you guys are exactly what I'm looking for. And you're like, Are we?
It's like they're reading our brain.
Cool.
They're not, because they're reading what we're putting out. So we're really making this train track of alignability and making sure that what we're saying is what we want people to be reaching for. So when they come for us, we are a good fit and we're in line.
And ultimately, if you think of the train track, a lot of times, kids' train tracks are in figure eights.
Yeah.
And so the goal is that people would just keep coming on the figure eight, and they would just stay a part of the ecosystem in your business. And they would recognize that as the business grows, as our lives change and pivot, that they can still track with you. They can still come along and align with what you're creating, regardless of the season of your business and their lives. Because ultimately, the goal is that you would connect with them first and foremost, that your ideal client would understand that you are creating for them. And so they want to be a part, they want to stay on those tracks.
Yes. I love that. Well, thank you, Lauren, so much. Even as you've talked, it's amazing. I've heard this conversation. I've had this conversation with you a million times, and yet I always come away learning something more. And I know that even though we visit our ideal client, there's still questions that we can be asking ourselves about ideal client. And I'm excited to do that with Ryland again, because there's always learning and growing to be happening, no matter how long you've been in business.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Well, thank you, Lauren. I sure do appreciate you and everything that you've taught us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.